What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the First Position Real Estate Live Show. We got your boy Isaiah Henry. Today we have on Terrence Marshall, great guest, longtime friend of mine. I actually met him at university. Got the Wilfs shirt on to represent. Quick thing: if you haven't registered for the Rookie Real Estate Investment event on September 25th, I'm not gonna lie, you're missing out. It's gonna be a great event. We got some great guests. We were just actually talking with some of the guests today, and we're working out some stuff. We're gonna get going there, so it's gonna be a great event, and I'm really excited to get you guys all there. If you haven't got tickets, go up to my bio, and you can click on the event link and go ahead. And if you want that VIP discount, send me a quick DM. I'd be more than happy to help you out there. But let's get this live started. Terrence, where are ya? Get my guy in here. And we'll get stuff started today. But yeah, and guys, if you're scared about the bank rates coming up in a little bit, don't worry. We're gonna get through this together. Again, remember, real estate comes up in cycles, so it's gonna be okay. We'll get everything done as soon as we can. Yeah, so we should have Terrence here in a little bit. Where's Terrence at? Man, technology is so good until it's not. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Isaiah, what's going on?
What's going on, Terrence? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sorry, I took a second there to hop on.
Hey, man, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, listen, there's no stress here. It's a nice stress-free zone. But Terrence, what is going on? How are you? How are things going today in your world?
Good, man. Good. Busy with some tax clients. We're also real estate clients. Busy with the market in terms of, like, things have changed. Obviously, everybody knows that right now. But I have a sense things are slowly picking up. People are adjusting to the rates. But obviously, we're still in a buyer's market. Nothing crazy's changed yet.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm seeing the same kind of thing. I think, like, when the media came out, it all hyped it really quick. Everybody got, like, cold feet really quickly. But I'm still saying, like, people aren't just giving away their houses. Like, I don't think we're at that point yet where people are just giving away, willing to take, like, super low ball offers. People are still want to transact, like, near around that top point. So, and there's enough buyers that they can still have that competition. So I do see it soften, but it's not like it's like pudding soft.
I agree.
It's just a little
I agree.
softer.
I think one thing to note is the peak wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I know it was February, but I think seller expectations, some sellers still think that they deserve, or, they heard, oh, John got that much for his property, like I should get that much. Like, they know their neighbor got so much last year. They're like,
yeah.
Or in February, why should I sell for less, right? So I think realtors in general, a good realtor in today's market should be managing the seller expectations with what's happened. And even on the buying side, right? Like, you should also advise your client, like, listen, you can't lowball this deal, because, it's not like everyone is right about to default on their mortgage payment and have to sell, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the media made it seem like everyone was. Like, they raised the rates. People are literally going to have to walk away from their houses. I'm like, everyone chill out. This is Canada. Better yet, this is Ontario. We don't make loans like that. Like, nobody's walking away from their $1.6 million home and giving it back to the bank. That's not what we're at.
That's it.
Not.
And again, you got to remember, right? All these mortgages were stress test, right? They were stress test, meaning, for those who don't know, right, the stress test was around 5.25%. And nowadays it's the variable rate plus 2%, right? So if you got a mortgage, even when it was 1.5% or 2%, you still had to qualify for the 5.25% benchmark, right? Yeah. So we're still not at those rates yet. I think the 5-year fix is in and around there now, but the variable is still, 4.5. So people are not in that position yet. I think people may have heard of the trigger rate. Isaiah, you probably heard of that, right, recently?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think people are in that position yet. I think maybe there might be a couple, but I haven't heard of anyone, and I don't think anyone's reached that point yet. So I think we got some time.
100%. I feel like people are exploring it now. Like, people are kind of like just wanting to get caught up. Like, okay, what are my options in case this kind of like hits the fan? But I think you're right. Like, we're not there yet or anything. So it's exciting though. Like, to be honest, if you're in the market, you're trading, I think it's an exciting time to be in it, whether you're a buyer, seller, or an agent in the middle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I agree. Like everybody right now is adjusting to different times, but if you're a buyer right now, I definitely want to be a buyer and not a seller.
Yeah, exactly, man. But oh, okay. Well, anyway, that was a sweet preamble. That was just like off the cuff there. But
Yeah,
Terrence, before like we kind of get rolling, I got a couple questions for you. Why don't you give me like a 30-second rundown who you are in real estate, and what you got going on?
sure, absolutely. So what I do is I'm a realtor, an investor, and also a CPA. But what I do is essentially I service clients on the real estate side, and I also give them tax advice at the same time. So if, for example, someone's a seller, they're like, well, how much tax am I going to pay? I can give them that info too. If they're an investor and they're renting their properties, I can help them understand what the implications of reporting rental income are. So really, that's in a nutshell what I do is I try to um, help investors invest in real estate while minimizing their tax liability.
100%. Like that's like I feel like especially me this year, as I scaled and grew with some other stuff like outside of like
You're making
strictly
big
like
money
buying.
now, Isaiah. The CRA is
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
after
yeah,
you.
oh my gosh. But like you don't understand, like tax is one of your biggest expenses, and if you don't know how to deal with it, like it's gonna blow you out of the water because you're not doing things in a way that's tax advantageous. So I totally see your
Yeah,
value.
yeah, or tax efficient, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, no, that's exactly why I think in a power team, I know you always talk about power team having
Yeah.
it. I think most people, when they think of a power team, they think of a realtor, they think of a mortgage broker, they think of, their contractor. But I think the accountant always is left over to the end, right? So at the end of the year, let me just go see my accountant, but really should be making those decisions with your accountant, right? Because the implication of what you do is reported at year end, but you can't go back and change the decision you made, right?
Yeah.
After you tell your accountant about it, right? So that's what I.
100%. That's good. That's good. So for all you guys looking for tax people, like don't blow up his line now. We still have a live to do. So wait till we're
Yeah,
done and then you
yeah,
could blow him up.
yeah. All two people on here right now.
Yeah,
Don't blow my line.
that's good. But anyway, let's jump into some questions I have for you. So first question here. So for many of us, it's our first down market. Like most of us have been trading and things have just been going up, but this is usually our first down market.
For sure.
As someone who's active in both like the business and the real estate side, what advice can you give to those people who are successfully doing well in a down market? Like, what would you tell someone who wants to do well in a down market?
As a investor or as a first time home buyer, just as in general.
Why don't we go investor?
Sure. Why don't we go investor? So this is going to be the first property you're going to buy or the second property. I think the opportunity is plentiful. I think most people, they kind of move, I don't know how to say this, but kind of like everyone seemed like a sheep in January and February, right? Like when everyone is buying, everybody wants to buy. But
Yep.
right now, when things are low and down, nobody wants to buy. So I would encourage everyone to kind of put their own thinking cap on, look at the opportunities out there. The rates are not going to be high forever, right? That's my opinion. The rates are not going to be high forever. I think understand what's going on in the market, get educated as to why the interest rates have gone up, why are other people shying away, right? So just to give a little bit of kind of background to those who kind of don't know, maybe are just kind of saying, oh, why is everyone not buying? I should stop buying. Well, if you understand why the rates are going up, the rates are going up because inflation is going up. Now, why is inflation going up? Well, the government's printed a lot of money. Believe it or not, people still have a lot of money in their bank accounts because we just came out of COVID. People had saved up a lot of their discretionary spending, plus all the stimulus money, right? So there was that. And there's also supply chain issues around the world from COVID, and there's supply chain issues around the world from the war. That war is not going to last forever. And we are coming out of COVID. Supply chains are being alleviated bit by bit. So I think in the short to mid-term, we're going to see that war end, supply chains alleviate a little bit, and prices come down. As soon as prices start to come down, the Bank of Canada's mandate, which is to maintain inflation at between 1% and 3% with a target of 2%, once inflation starts to come down, they're not going to keep stalling the economy with high interest rates. They want to grow the economy in a healthy way while still maintaining decent prices for consumers. That's their mandate. So as they start to lower rates, we're going to start to see these home prices pick back up again, right?
Yep.
So just know that, you know, as an investor, do your numbers with the higher rates, but understand what's going in the market and account for what's going in the market, and update your Excel spreadsheets or whatever you're doing to analyze your deals with the current market conditions. And heck, maybe price in another hike or two. But there's more opportunity out there now, even with the rate higher, to get your boots on the ground and knock on some doors and like find the investment opportunities you're looking for.
100%, man. And I think you make a great point there. Like, if I told you this, I'm like, hey, you got to pay, 15% interest on this duplex, but it cash flows, $750 a month, and it's, 45% return year on year. Would you buy that deal?
Of course you would, right?
That's what I'm saying. But people get so caught up. They're like, oh my gosh, like the rates are up. Like, I can't buy. I'm like, hey, if your numbers work, you're in a good neighborhood, you're following the fundamentals, I don't care what those numbers say as per interest rate. I'm looking at the deal and the whole property as a whole to see if this makes sense.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. Like don't just watch the news, because the news is always bad news. That's one thing somebody told me, right? The news is always bad news. They're always going to fearmonger, right? So that's what I mean by get educated on your own, understand the market, understand like the fundamentals. And if you understand those, I think you'll always find opportunities, even in a down market, and when things are not seem so rosy, right?
Exactly.
So I think there's opportunity in every market.
100%. So a quick spin off of this one. Are you still being successful in a down market?
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, here's the thing. I think as a realtor, you have to explain, like, that's why they hire you, right? To explain these fundamentals and to educate them and to help them understand why is it still a good time to buy, even though the news is telling me it's not. And so I think if you're a good professional, knowledgeable professional, you can educate your buyers. And this is what I always say. I always say, I don't need to sell my clients. I just need to educate them. Because once you educate your clients understand what they're doing and they can be more independent to make that decision. And it's not like you're pushing or you don't come off as a sleazy salesman. You just are educating them, right? And I think so. Yeah, I've been doing okay in that regard. Obviously, things have slowed down, right? But I mean, I'm surviving. We're still
100%.
We're doing okay. So that's good.
I love it, man. I love it. Moving on to our second question. So I know we've touched on it in our preamble in our first question here, but you're both a realtor and an investor, which is an amazing combination. What are some of the challenges that you've had kind of meshing those two worlds together? Because sometimes it works great, but sometimes you're butting heads with both of them. So I'd love to hear some of those challenges.
I guess probably the biggest one is, knowing what to do with your time all the time, right? I think you as an investor, you're accountable for yourself. And if you're, JVing your partners, if you're, raising money, your private lenders, right? So you need to have enough focus on that business to ensure that that's running smoothly. But at the same time, as a realtor, you've got your clients and you owe them your time and your respect and all that stuff. And I think, Isaiah, you're a realtor too, right? You're a realtor and an investor. You probably know that, when your client calls you, because this is the biggest purchase in their life, they're always going to be stressed about it. And I've gotten calls at 11 p.m. at night too, right? Where they're jittery. They're wondering what's going to go on up until closing. Are we going to close? What's going on with the financing? So that said, it's all about balancing and prioritizing both aspects of the business and knowing what your limitations are, when it comes to yourself, and also setting boundaries, I think, too, with your clients as to when you're available, and at the same time prioritizing them, right? That's a delicate balance, because I found myself when I first got into the business, it was always about, being first, like picking up the call all the time, even at 1 a.m. and my girlfriend's like, well, Terrence, like there's got to be a boundary here, right? Like where, you got to know when like prioritize, but also balance, right? So I think that also comes into play when it comes to investing and also being a realtor.
100%, man. And I think that's a really good way to kind of put it. I think a lot of people think, you're an investor and a realtor, all we do is like spend our time counting money. And hey, I'd love that to be my only job, but there's a lot more that goes into the business than just like, sitting there and collecting a paycheck. Like this, there's a lot we do, whether we're spending time with our families trying to prioritize that, spending time trying to give the best we can to our clients, or even spending time trying to create value that we can give to everyone. There's a lot of time that goes into this,
For
and the
sure.
way you kind of broke it down there is amazing there. What's taking up your time these days? Like, what's one thing that you're working on these days?
Well, one thing I'm doing these days is I kind of started to open up the tax practice to other real estate investors, not just real estate clients. So
Okay.
I've been taking on, I got a large wholesaler. I've got another investor in Sudbury that's got a lot of units. So it's interesting too, because you get to advise these clients on how to minimize their tax. But at the same time, you get to have those conversations with you probably know as real estate investors, how much we just love to talk real estate 24/7.
Love
And
it.
there are the people who are just like, shut up, Terrence. I don't want to hear about a house or anything ever again, right? So just being able to like resonate and help clients that are in the same space is great, because we're in the same industry. So we get to talk about the market. What's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? So really that's kind of taking up some time. And then I'm also getting into the Airbnb space. So I started up, I did a new startup, but this is also important. I hired somebody full-time. I'm going to circle back to the previous point about being able to prioritize and balance your time, right? If I were to sit here and say I'm a realtor, an investor, an Airbnb manager, and an accountant, there would be no way anybody would take me seriously. So outsourcing your time and outsourcing the other tasks, that there are other people that are good at it. So for example, my Airbnb business, I don't have the best eye when it comes to design. So the person that's full-time is my designer. So she's responsible for designing all the Airbnbs, uploading, creating the guest book. So we've done something interesting there. We've created a digital guest book for our guests, because we find that people are coming to the area where our Airbnb is located, are coming from out of town. So we give them a digital copy of the guest book prior to arriving when they confirm the booking. So then that way they can see what food is in the area, where's the closest grocery store, what are the trails and parks nearby. And we put the Google rating, we put like the distance from the property, right? So we're trying to do premium Airbnb, right? We're doing premium photos. So she's also really good at photo editing, video editing, all that stuff. So that's also taking up some of my time, but not as much time as I need it to be, because I've got somebody managing it. So those two things are things that we're exploring. And the reason why I kind of explored the Airbnb side of things is because as a novice investor a couple of years ago, and probably, obviously, Isaiah, you learn more and more every year you're in the business.
Yeah,
when I first started in the business, I said to everybody, I was ignorant in the sense that I didn't know what the BRRRR method was. I didn't know what flipping was. I didn't know what any of that was. I just kind of knew that, hey, my parents bought their property pre-con, and a few years later it was worth more money. They put a low deposit. How can I invest? And that was my first investing strategy. So a lot of those pre-cons 2.5, 3 years ago are being built now. Yeah. And so what I thought to myself was, as you know, Airbnb properties are more luxury premium properties, right? You're usually targeting renovated properties if you're running an Airbnb, right? Or you're buying an old property, renovating it, and then putting it on Airbnb. So then I thought to myself, okay, well, why don't I mesh these strategies together by taking these properties that are in brand new condition? Mind you, there's other criteria for Airbnb than just being like, top notch. I mean, you want to be in a good location and so on and so forth. But let's just say, looking at one of the biggest criterias and most capital intense criterias, which is renovating the property, I can take this property, which is new, and I can Airbnb it, and it's in good condition. It's usually in a good location. And so that's what I've been focusing on first, to be able to achieve superhost status, right? And build a reputation of, premium Airbnbs, 5-star guest experience, right? So on and so forth. And so our company name is called Sojourn. And most people will be like, what is Sojourn, right? Like, what does Sojourn management even mean? And actually, if you define Sojourn actually means a temporary stay. And it can be used as a verb too, like sojourning. So like I was
Okay.
sojourning in Egypt. It just means like I was temporarily staying in Egypt. So we thought that name was interesting. So we used sojourn and management. So the management of temporary stays, right?
Awesome.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so like we're on, I think we just did the first Airbnb. Believe it or not, we were only, so in the 25 days we were online last month, we only had 2 days that were not booked. Yeah, so we had really good occupancy. East Hamilton is really good for Airbnb. And so yeah, we're cruising along on that one, and we are just about to launch the second one.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's exciting. That's super exciting. I saw you launch the first one. I was kind of keeping up with it. So I'm glad to see like, expanding out. And I love the model that you're taking, like all your early ideas from pre-con investing. You're like, okay, that's what I knew then, taking the knowledge, now kind of putting it together. And now you got this like take app strategy. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's working out. I mean, it's still capital intensive with the furniture and starting up, but I mean, that's why the cash flow makes up for it, right? So
Big time there.
Yeah, sorry, that was a really long question as to what I'm getting into, but that's really the exciting part right now.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I'll jump to my third one here, kind of just wrap it up because I know this is your specialty. So let's talk about tax. No one likes to talk about it, but it's a subject everyone's got to cover there. Sure. From a high level, I know we can get really nitty gritty like as a CPA, but from a high level, what are some things that investors can do or how they can set up their systems to just not avoid tax, but like to be in a tax advantageous situation? Give maybe a couple tips for the investors out there.
Sure. I think number one, I think the main thing, if you're a new investor or if you're even an experienced investor, because I've come across experienced investors who haven't prioritized the accounting and tax function as much in their business. And I think everybody likes to talk about tax. I'm going to get to tax, but I'm also going to get to accounting, which sometimes gets confused because people are like, okay, well, you're an accountant. And so what is accounting and what is tax? Well, accounting is bookkeeping and keeping a track of everything that goes on in the business. So you clean your property before you lease it out, that's an expense. When you have rental income coming in every month, that's rental income. So how do you bookkeep that efficiently? So I'll give a couple of tips. First of all, each property, you should ideally want to have a separate bank account. Why? Because it'll be easier to track the revenue and expenses when they're kept separately, right? So you want to make sure your rents are going into that specific property, and whenever you have expenses for that specific property, have them be deducted out of that account. Okay. Not only is that process efficient for accounting and bookkeeping, it's also efficient when it comes to payments and bill payments, right? Like pre-authorize separate accounts for each property. If you're covering the utilities and you have all-inclusive leases, well, just pre-authorize those payments to those accounts and everything will be in one place. That's a quick tip I can give you. Second tip I can give you is when you're going to make a transaction in real estate, whether you're a buyer or a seller, think about whether this is going to trigger a tax consequence. And almost always there will either be a tax liability or a tax advantage. So as a buyer, for example, there might be a land transfer tax rebate you can take advantage of. There might be a portion of your down payment that can come from your RRSP, right? And those are tax advantages. Whereas if you're a seller, when you sell your property, if it's a rental, there might be a tax liability. How much is that tax going to be? If I sell right now, does it make sense for me to sell right now and pay that tax? Or does it just make sense for me to refinance and forego the tax liability, right? So those questions, and almost always, require a good, knowledgeable tax accountant to answer. So my point there is have your power team include an accountant or a tax advisor. So then that way, a tax advisor, your tax advisor should be your accountant, but someone chartered or certified to give you that advice, right? Not just anybody can give you tax advice. It's illegal for anybody to give you tax advice unless they're a CPA. So make sure who you're talking to is a CPA. Make sure that before you do the transaction, you get their advice. And if you're going to scale, your accountant is going to be a big part of you scaling. And what I mean by that is your bookkeeping function. Like, how are you automating that, right? So for example, my clients, I set them up with each bank account linked to their QuickBooks. So all their transactions come into QuickBooks. We see them. My bookkeeper bookkeeps it. And we have maybe a once a month or once every 2 month sit down to be like, this is what's going on in the business. This is what the books look like. And why is bookkeeping maybe on a monthly, quarterly basis better than leaving it for the end of the year? Because you're not scrambling at the end of the year. Like, your bookkeeper or your accountant is taking care of everything every month or every 3 months, that at the end of the year, all the numbers are all set. We plug and play in your tax return, explain what the tax liability is, pay this, and that's it. Tax time tax time can be anything but a headache if you prepare and plan for it. So that's my advice when it comes to tax. Just engage your accountant, have them as part of your power team, and if you think that you need to make a call to your accountant, make the call. I know, we charge by our time, but at the end of the day, if you can save a good amount of money on your, taxes, I think it's worth the call.
Good stuff. I love that. That's some great advice there. Yeah, I have, my accountant, we've had many conversations. He saved me many a times. Like I want to do some crazy stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do all this. And he's like, whoa, 1, that's illegal. 2, that's not going to be advantageous, which is just good to know, because sometimes I feel investors, like, they're more like the visionaries. They see this big picture, a portfolio, a business, but the accountant is kind of what I like to call like those fence posts. Like they put the reins on everything so that your house grows beautifully instead of scattered all over this field. Yeah. So I really love the way you're kind of getting after stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes we don't deliver the best news, right? Because it's like, I want to do this, but hey, it's going to cost you that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you'd rather have them tell you than the CRA maybe come behind you and tell you what's right and what's wrong, right? So
exactly, man. That's good. That's good. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. Wrapping up there. Did you have any final questions before we wrap it up today, Terrence?
No final questions. I mean, Isaiah, how are things on your end? How are you finding the down market? How are you finding investing right now? Lots of opportunities, lots of busy times, or what?
I am excited. Like, we got a lot of stuff going, just as a business and as an investor, right? Like, we have 2 properties under contract right now. One's really close to being all done and getting that one going. That's going to be an easy one. If you haven't saw that property, anyone who's watching, just jump on the mailing list, grab that. Some joint venture opportunities. We just signed up another partner as of September 1st. So that's awesome. We're rocking together now. We're putting on an in-person event on the 25th. Like, it's just so much stuff's happening, and I just feel like really excited and like blessed that I get to be in this spot where I can do this kind of stuff. So I feel like really blessed. So I'm excited.
You're doing an amazing job, man. I see the content. You're always on. You're either on live or you're posting about yourself in the gym, but like, you're on it. That's the key theme about balance and just making sure that you're not neglecting any part of your life. I think you're mastering it right now. So keep at it.
I appreciate it. Well, I got good friends like you in the business to keep support and keep me accountable. So I love that. I love that there.
I think I did get a ticket to your event, so I'll be there to support, and whatever I can do, if you need an accountant or whatever, I'll be there to network with.
Love it. Make sure you bring a couple cards.
Event on the 25th, and if you need any tax advice or anything else, just hit me up in my DMs, and I'll get you there.
Love it. Love it. Terrence, before we get out of here, where can everyone find out more about you? If they want to get in contact, where can they find you?
I think the best way is Instagram, Realtor Terrence _CPA. So you can DM me there. I think I did a podcast episode earlier. So if you wanted to find out about my journey and what my qualifications or knowledge are, you can catch the podcast. I think it's Wealth is Possible is the podcast name, and it's on YouTube. And if there's anything else I can help anybody with, just let me know.
Awesome, man. Well, you guys heard it here first. We have Terrence, the man, the myth, the legend, the CPA, the investor. He's wearing many hats here, and it was awesome to have him on. So, Terrence, thank you so much. Anything last to say before we sign off today?
No, just happy investing to everybody out there. I think it's going to be some juicy times ahead, so take advantage of it. Don't be scared. Get out there and get her done.
Love it, man. Love it, man. Well, Terrence, thank you so much for coming on today, and I'll see you on the next one.
Take care. Sounds good.
See you, man.
See ya. Bye-bye.